I had a lot of adventures with MIT where I gave MIT money. And I kept running into trouble. How do you give MIT money? Finally, what I worked out was it was a big procedure to make a gift to MIT. Okay. So, I had to call a lawyer up and he had to make some document and do this so that I could get a deduction and this, that, and the other. And it was a annoyance. So I worked out a deal with MIT where there was this big blob of money. I sort of gave it to MIT and I had a deal I gave it to the treasurer of MIT and said, I'll tell you from time to time what to do with it. And he said, that's perfect, we'll do it, okay? Now, and Marvin would make suggestions to me, and usually I would follow them. And so at one point, Marvin said, hey, Gunkel's in trouble. He's got this problem. He needs some money. Now, this had happened a few times before, and each time we'd given him some money. And I hadn't done anything for a while, maybe a few years, I don't know. But Marvin said, we have to rescue him. And he was right. So I said, okay, what do we need? And it was like, $30,000 would do it because he needed psychiatric help and so on. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So I tried to transfer the money. Now, this fund was at MIT, and I hadn't done anything with it in a number of years. And the guy I dealt with normally was the treasurer. I just call the treasurer up and say, hey, my money there? And he'd say, yeah. And I'd say, well, do this with this, and he'd do it. Okay. He was dead. And he wasn't there. Okay. Someone else was. So I told him, and he said, what? What are you talking about? Something like that. So I explained all this to him, and he said that, whatever you're telling me sounds preposterous. We don't do things like that here. And I said, well, you did. He said, I don't believe you. So here's what happened. Marvin had suggested we use some of this money left over to help Gunkel. So what happened is MIT reacted like this. They said, you're lying. This money is at MIT, but it's not your money and it has nothing to do with you, and it just must belong to someone else. We're going to, you can't tell us what to do with it. We're going to give it to this other guy. And if you want to tell him what you want to do, you can ask him. So the other guy was the guy who had replaced the person who had replaced me as head of the lab. Okay. So I started to speak to him about it, and he said, look, they've told me that you're trying to steal this money, and they've given it to me. I'm not going to help you in any way. So we never gave anything to Gunkel. And the money disappeared with a lot of ill feeling towards me, like I was trying to steal something, okay? So what happened is no one could help Gunkel. He went and he ended up going in nuts, and he was in an insane asylum until he died. But that was a strange thing, where MIT really, I gave MIT many millions of dollars, and they were, so happy with me, They gave me these things. Like one day, I gave them a lot of money. They said, oh, we're going to do something great for you. So they gave me a thing and they said, you know what this is? I said, what? He said, it's the thing that entitles you to park anywhere you want on the campus. Wherever you want to park your car for a minute, you can park anywhere on the campus. Okay, that's one. Then they gave me, later on, I gave them more money. They said, oh, we're going to give you something, the fantastic thing. You can go to any library at MIT, take anything you want out, and you can do this, then get any kind of maps, anything you want, you know. Fine. So, okay. Sometime later, I'm trying to park, and I show them this card. And the guy says, what, are you kidding me? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and I almost got arrested, you know. The campus police, they didn't tell them. So that was worthless. And the other thing has also turned out to be 100% worthless. So all these things I got were exactly worthless.